Precedence, the 28th of April, 2025. What if he doesn't condone it? Then I don't want to do it. One question: why would people in the past be allowed to interpret, to comment, to explain, to do scholarly work on the Quran and its verses, and some of them even be allowed to translate it into vernacular languages and community spoken languages? However, in our time it is considered a sin. It is God who decides what is sinful and what is permitted. Why did people in the past decide it themselves and prevented the later generations from the benefit of doing scholarly work and studying the Quran? Whether we like it or not, it prevents people from feeling comfortable and secure while reading God's Word. If one of them had a malicious intent by issuing such a ruling, then why should we follow the ruling of a person with a malicious intent? Of course, we don't know their intentions, but if they caused much harm in the world after they died, then they are bound to be abandoned. In any event, it could be seen as a commentary, not a tafsir. But if anyone reads it, they can interpret it the way they want. Their interpretation of it could be based on their understanding, prejudice, unfortunately, and what they know about me, I suppose. Maybe those who interpreted it in the beginning were thinking the same. Maybe they didn't cause the issues that we have in our generation out of their intent to cause corruption. Continue. I think there can be a term to describe it. To be honest, I believe it is how Islam should have been interpreted in the first place. I think several circumstances caused people to interpret it differently. قال فإياك والتلون فإن دين الله واحد. The 18th of May, 2025. A question just appeared. Why would God punish human beings for something that He Himself decreed upon them? This question comes from an ideology of belief, from believing that everything that happens is predestined and destined to happen in accordance with how God ordained. Yet it lacks the understanding required to establish human beings' role in the equation. God did not ordain bad things to happen to people despite their belief. If humans were given a choice to do something good or something bad, we don't say that those who chose to do something bad were compelled or forced to do that by being predestined to do it. They did the bad action because they chose to do it. God punishes people for their choices, for decisions that they made throughout their lives. If some decision was motivated by a human being's desires rather than their belief, then it deserves punishment in accordance with how far away from God's guidance their decision was. God decreed everything to happen, yet He also appointed points in people's lives where their choices would cause them to either receive a blessing or receive a punishment. Points in time where human free will acts upon the situation, even if something bad was decreed to happen. God's mercy to His servants would always take precedence. If someone is decreed to have an accident and they walk down the road, it is their free will to cross the street when the traffic light is red, even if they were destined to be in the accident. Their free will still determines whether or not they actually fall inside the hole. God did not only decree things to happen and then let the world run by itself. That would take agency away from God. But He is not passive. He is continuously working in the world. If everything is decreed, then what would prevent God from ending the world right this second and setting people whom He had already determined to be inhabitants of the fire towards the fire, and people that He already determined would be in heaven towards heaven? If everything is such, that people would be punished for no sin of their own, as the question states, then free will means nothing. The question seems to stem from a lack of understanding of how free will functions in determining the outcome of any event. God punishes people for disobeying His commands. Yet, even if they did disobey His commands because He ordained it and predestined it upon them, the thoughts leading to their disobedience count as their free will and contribute to the choice they make to either obey or disobey Him. He does not punish human beings based upon His predestiny alone, nor does He reward them based on predestiny alone. There are many times when a person who was predestined to do something bad exceeds the limit. If God had ordained that He would only flick a student on his nose in order to discipline him, yet He instead scolded him, hit him hard, and made him a mockery for forgetting to do the homework at home, such a person exceeds the predestined and ordained amount of bad that God had written upon him. Some people who were predestined to have a harsh situation in their life, causing them to steal from someone's house, which is a bad deed in itself, would also murder the house owner if he wakes up and finds them stealing his house. Punishment comes for the bad deed and other bad deeds that follow it or which result from it. Free will could prevent them from killing him, and free will could prevent them from even robbing the house. When people refrain from doing something bad, they are not predestined to refrain from it, per se. Every situation which contains a bad and a good deed is a test. The person is predestined to have the test, but the choice remains a free will action, where the person decides their own fate by making a binary decision. This could easily expand into a quantum analysis of every situation, but in the end, God does not punish people for nothing. They deserve the punishment for choosing the wrong decisions and persisting on selecting the bad decisions in multiple situations, each of which is a test and a call to them to get back to the righteous path and to obey God's commandments. Unless God has mercy on people, no one will enter heaven.